Okay, good.
So
We can get started.
we will be losing Skip at 11.
Okay.
So as long as, you know, we look like we're gonna have time to get through our action items, we just want to pay attention to that. And Kate is here as well.
Okay.
So with Kate, we are one over quorum. So
Okay, good.
either way.
We are ready to go.
Just gotta get back.
Welcome to our meeting. Before we begin, translation services are available free of charge. Request.
Give that to Kate. Kate, would you read your 1 sentence for us, please?
Kate Maria.
Antes de comencemos, servicios de traducción de forma gratuita son disponibles bajo petición.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
The convening statement.
Benton-Franklin Council of Governments was established by a voluntary association of the local units of government in 1966 with the vision of providing a forum for improved communication, multi-jurisdictional decision-making, regional planning, and the capacity to serve as lead agency in providing multi-jurisdictional programs. The services provided to the member jurisdictions are outlined by interlocal agreement and can evolve with the needs of the region. The Council of Government currently fulfills the following designations on behalf of the Benton Regional Planning Commission, Conference of Governments, Regional Transportation Planning Organization, Metropolitan Planning Organization / Transportation Management Area, and Economic Development District. The Benton-Franklin Board of Directors simultaneously serves as the governing body for the Benton-Franklin Council of Governments, Benton-Franklin Metropolitan Planning Organization Transportation Policy Board, Benton-Franklin Walla Walla Regional Transportation Planning Organization, and Benton-Franklin Economic Development District. We share this information at the beginning of each board meeting to provide context to the information shared and actions taken in the meeting.
Thank you, Kate. We'll do roll call now.
Roll call. Ben-Franklin Transit. Benton County. City of Benton City.
Here.
City of Connell. City of Kennewick.
Here.
City of Pasco.
Here.
City of Prosser.
Here.
City of Richland. Joanna's here.
Oh, yes.
It's your day off.
Just read it, it's so involved in my reading.
City of West Richland.
Kate Moran, present.
Franklin County. Port of Benton.
Roy Keck.
Port of Kennewick.
Skip Novakovich.
Port of Pasco.
Vicki Gordon.
Washtenaw South Central.
Brian White.
And you have a quorum.
Great. We have one, are there any guests online?
I don't believe.
Other than that, we have one guest, the executive director from the Port of Benton, Diane Howard, is here to make a presentation today. Welcome. Call for approval of the agenda as corrected. The correction is on 7B was changed to August 16th from the July meeting. Other than that, it's the same.
I move to approve the agenda as corrected.
Is there a second?
Second. Roy Keck.
Thanks, Roy. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the agenda today as amended. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. This is the time we have for public comment. Is there anyone that wants to make a public comment? Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
Not a comment, but I'm just wondering, the timing of these 2-hour meetings, kind of in the middle of the morning, kind of in the middle of the day. Has anyone, I don't know how long it's been. I mean, I know it's since I've been on it, but it is kind of a difficult thing. And I think sometimes that's why we maybe don't get as much attendance. I'm almost wondering if it started earlier in the day, we could start our days there versus otherwise when you're driving there to our meeting, driving back, it's quite a bit of it.
You're a girl after my own heart. I like early meetings too.
Yeah.
Any other comments from anybody on the timing of our meeting?
For me, I actually like it this time because I am not an early person. It's hard enough to get here on time, let alone early.
Usually have an obligation early Friday morning, so this
We can send out, Michelle said we could send out a survey and see how people feel about it.
Or later in the afternoon as well.
Okay.
Different options.
or a different day.
Yeah. for different
A
days.
different day.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
good. Well, we'll do
I don't
what,
want to throw it into upheaval. It's the only meeting that I have that's like right smack dab in the middle of the morning, middle of the day, and 2 hours is kind of a little bit awkward at times for me to be productive the rest of the day. But anyways,
okay. All right, we'll check it out.
There was somebody else that said something online, a male voice, I heard.
Anyone else that had a comment?
Oh, it was just Charles and Pasco saying that this time actually works good for me, but send out the survey. I would almost rather have it on a different day than Wednesday or Thursday at 8 a.m. would be really, really good for me, but may not be for somebody else.
Okay, thanks, Charles. So when you get the survey, make sure you fill it out. All right, our presentation this morning is on the Port of Benton Rail Modernization and Intermodal Updates with Diane Howard. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Diane Howard, Executive Director for the Port of Benton. Just appreciate the board's time this morning. I know you have a bunch of slides in your packet. I'm not gonna do a few of them, but I think it's important to kind of highlight and talk through this project. What I'm sharing with you is a version of what we did at a public meeting that we held in July, and I'll talk a little bit about that. So I'll go as quickly as possible because I know there's a time constraint. And so here we go. Okay, that buzzed at me, that's cool. Anyway, I just quickly would like to just give a highlight about ports in Washington State. Specifically, the Port of Benton was established in November of 1958, following the Army Corps of Engineers transferring ownership of the city of Richland to the citizens. The Port of Benton was created to drive economic growth, trade, and tourism. As everyone likely knows, Richland was previously a federal government property and part of the Manhattan Project. The port's district encompasses 2/3 of Benton County, including North Richland, Benton City, and Prosser. Companies in the Port of Benton facilities and properties provide family wage jobs and generate more than $600 million in revenue yearly, representing about 5% of Benton County's economy. What we're here to talk about today is part of our Tri-Cities vast rail network. The Port of Benton's rail line is marked in the black solid line on the map and begins at Columbia Center Boulevard. The Port of Benton rail is also served by 2 Class 1 railroads, Union Pacific and BNSF Railway, as well as our short liner operator, which right now is Columbia Rail. The city of Richland also has a line that's shown in red. The Port of Benton's line of about 11 miles of industrial short line rail is shown in yellow in this map. The short line connects our region shippers and larger freight rail networks, excuse me. For those new to rail or the rail industry, I just want to share a quick couple of fun facts. Class of railroad is based on the financial revenues and represented by Roman numeral. The lower the number, the higher the revenues. There are 6 classes of Class 1 railroads in the US, and in our local area, BNSF Railway and Union Pacific are 2 of those. Class of track is also represented by numerals. The lower the numeral though, the slower the train speeds. And so the class of track is represented by track conditions. Sorry, Mr. Currently, due to the age and condition, the port's rail is at class 1 track standards, which right now is limiting us to no more than 10 miles per hour, and we're actually lower than that right now. Our goal is to increase to class 2 track, which will allow speeds up to 25 miles per hour. And the port's rail system includes the 16 miles of track, 11 is the mainline track, and then we've got storage track with that, 48,000 ties, which we'll discuss in more detail shortly. We also have 4 bridges, 10 at-grade rail crossings, plus the city of Richland's crossing at Kingsgate and Horn Rapids Road. And speaking of crossings, again, let's talk about some speed. One reason that we want to get back to the class 2 track standard is again that slower train speeds, we recognize vehicle traffic is longer and many of us have been experiencing that. So our goal is to get the speed back up to allow a 100-car unit train going 22 miles to only block the intersection for 4 minutes. The same train at 5 miles an hour, which is where we're at right now, is at 18 minutes. And so it's a safety concern for us as well. And so that's why we've been really dedicated to the activity around the crossings. Back a little bit bigger picture though, we are part of Washington's freight rail network. As mentioned, BNSF, Union Pacific are both class 1 railroads. They use the port's track to serve their customers. Our track is one of few in the state of Washington and Oregon where both class 1s can run direct. Our region's agriculture and other major industries ship around 1.3 million tons of cargo each year out of Richland's rail line, which makes us actually the second heaviest short line within the state of Washington, behind the Port of Grays Harbor. An estimated 3,000 local jobs and 1.5 million statewide are tied to these freight-dependent industries that also provide a 2.9 multiplier in direct jobs across the state. North Richland rail users, I want to highlight a little bit. The rail line is used by small businesses as well as major corporations doing domestic and global business in our community. A snapshot of some of the Richland-based companies that are used or plan to use the port's rail line include Lamb Weston, Central Washington Corn Processors, Lineage, Packaging Corporation of America, BioGrow, and Delher Industries. The demand for goods from our region in both the US and overseas continues to be increasing. Statewide, there's $65 billion in agriculture alone. Many of the advanced manufacturing site requests are also requesting rail sites to serve domestic and global markets. And other industries that we're seeing growth in our region require rail to meet their shipping needs. And those include, for example, Walmart's existing dry and temperature controlled distribution center, Amazon's new fulfillment centers operating in the Tri-Cities, and Dairy Gold that's actually constructing their new plant over in the Port of Pasco, but we're also supporting their needs as well. So a little bit about rail operations and schedules. Again, for those of you that might be new to railroading, the slide shows the overarching rail system across the state of Washington. Federal law allows for free movement of commerce at the nation's rail lines and across the US, ensuring economic vitality for communities across the US. There's very little the port can do to control train times on the port's track. The railroads that operate in the Tri-Cities manage their operations and set their train schedules based upon when trains arrive in our community, and that mostly it's around the availability of crews and time of crews. There's 2 types of trains that come in to serve the Tri-Cities. The first type is a manifest, which consists of multiple rail cars carrying multiple types of products for multiple customers. This is the most common train that you see. There could be several box cars or tanker cars or flatbed cars and hopper cars. Manifest trains on port track can be anywhere from 1 to 60 cars long. The second type of train that you see on our track is a unit train, which is usually about 100 cars long and is one type of car with one type of product going usually to one customer. So this is a little bit of rail line history. I want to kind of look back at the track. I just want to talk about the track. It's nearly 75 years old, a track system that was built to support the Hanford Federal Project. It was turned over to the port in 1998 to leverage and support economic industrial diversification and utilize the federal system for the benefit of the community. There's some background here of basically the Southern Connection and its history. Just because of time, I'm gonna skip through these because you can read the slides. I just wanted to make sure that all the electeds that are on the board have this as background information. I think it's really important. And I wanna jump to like project plans. So there's several plans related to our rail facility. We do a planning effort also internally to the port. Our comprehensive plan, it's called the Scheme of Harbor Improvements. I hate the fact that the state used the word scheme, but that's how the RCW defines it. So maybe we could fix that someday, but anyway, this is looked at annually by our board of commissioners, and it's also in alignment with our budget. It's approved by a public hearing. This plan informs the community about the nature and extent of current and anticipated port improvements and corresponding capital expense. We also have our, 6-year transportation improvement plan that we submit to you and is annually updated. Again, the Port of Benton Commission adopts this plan following a public hearing, and then it's then submitted to you all. Both the comp plan and the transportation improvement plan are required by state law. We also have a partnership with the city of Richland. We develop master plans of rail-related projects and modernization plans. And if you're ever wondering what our plans are, just want to make sure that you know, we've got project and planning pages. It's also available on the Port of Benton's website on our finance pages as well. For us, it's all about collaborative relationships. That's the key to success. And it's not only with the public, our other stakeholders, our economic development partners, primarily the city of Richland, Benton County, you all here at the Council of Governments. And we also, of course, work with TRIDEC and the Intertribal Advisory Board that helps us deliver local projects and bring business, create jobs, and further regional development. Speaking of our Richland partnership, I just want to again say this is a shared vision for where we see roles and how the city recognizes roles with relevance to rail. We have over a 30-year partnership with Richland. It's specifically in North Richland and Horn Rapids. The planning, back in the day, I'm former city staff, it was even before my time, and I had the blessing of my time of being at the city of Richland, leaning on the planning efforts of those even before me. So in the early 80s, that's when the Horn Rapids Industrial Plan was developed. And if you even look back to the city documents, when the property was provided to the city of Richland and to the Port of Benton, it was always envisioned to be an area of research and manufacturing and development. And so that plan got implemented, and I was blessed while I was at the city of Richland to, have a diversified career, not only in industrial development, but the Columbia Point project, the Queensgate project. And we've just continued that relationship going to today, and we just continue to develop that partnership even further. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about where that partnership is at presently and what we're kind of envisioning now going forward. So let's see here. I want to talk quickly though. Sorry, I missed this one. Well, leveraging strength. So everything there in the gray used to be white, and that's again the 30-year partnership between the city of Richland and the Port of Benton. A lot of that now is developed. You can see that Richland now has about 1,000 acres, and then to the north of Horn Rapids, there's another, that's the 1,641 acres that was transferred to the city, the port, and Energy Northwest. So there's a lot of industrial opportunity and economic development opportunities going forward. But just, imagine that used to all be white, and now that where you see the gray and where you see the red is development that's occurred over the last basically 30 years. See here, I want to highlight though where we're at on crossings. We really just got our railroad back after 10 years of litigation, it was handed over to us in August of 2022, and I would say literally handed over to us. So we've secured millions in federal and state grants to help us pay for the 2024 rail crossings that are coming up. These grants have required port matching of nearly $700,000. And over this period of time, and actually started more in 2012, we've invested over $7 million port funds of our own revenues to help support this asset and offset with grants. These projects would not have been possible without our federal and state partners who awarded us the grant funding to get them there, and we thank them for these awards. And then just most recently, after this legislative session, want to thank Senator Binky. He's been a tireless work and really helped support us, as well as Rep. Barnard and Connors. We received $1.1 million from the state legislature via the Department of Commerce in 2023 that we're finally able to get that money to work this year. There's a lot of paperwork that's involved, unfortunately. And then we also, that includes some tire replacement. And then this year, we got another $240,000 that we're gonna use, we're successful in being able to use to allocate towards a congressionally directed spending request that's currently marked for future funding. So every dollar we get, we try to leverage with other federal or port dollars, and that's what we've been able to do. So right now, again, we've got 10 grade crossings where railroad tracks intersect with vehicle traffic. These crossings are marked in yellow with crossing signals on that graphic there. And this year, the port will be able to replace 4 additional crossings in addition to the 3 crossings that we replaced in 21 and 22. In addition to the road surfaces over the rail, not only for smoother rides of vehicles, right, and especially thinking of Van Giesen, these improvements are helping us increase the train speeds, enhance safety, reduce vehicle traffic interruptions of the crossings, and again, our goal is to increase the speeds of trains through these crossings from the current 5 miles an hour to the 10 to 20 miles per hour. These projects also will support growing our local ag and other industries and getting the goods to market more efficiently. So I want to kind of highlight the upcoming projects that we have starting this fall. State Route 240 will replace the rail crossing and signaling gates. This is a 1970s crossing. We anticipate the project will happen. It's starting this fall. It's going to cross over into 2025. Again, just the level of paperwork, we're probably going to miss the paving window, which is probably why. If we can get it done, by all means, we're going to get it done, but I'm worried about the paving window because they're saying we're going to have a pretty heavy snowfall early. Basically, this work is going to begin on noon on a Thursday. Crews literally work 24 around the clock until 6 a.m. on the following Monday. It's amazing what they do, and I have nothing but utmost respect for this crews. The intersection will be fully closed, and road closures and detours will occur. We put out a lot of notice on this. Again, if you want to stay informed, please let us know. We announced these projects. We also have Airport Way crossing. Let me see. We announced the projects though on our news media, website, and social media. The other ones that we've got going is Airport Way, that's crossing. This is crossing arms, gate mechanisms, as well as the LED lights. Again, this is another 40-year-old plus crossing. This work is planned to start now. We also have Kingsgate Crossing where we're going to replace City of Richland signal equipment and lights. There will be no road or track closure. This is again an example of our partnership with the City of Richland, since they own that crossing, but we jointly applied and received grant funds. I missed that one, sorry. And then we also have Saint Street Crossing, which is just before SR 240. We're going to again replace this rail crossing, install lighted crossbucks. This project will also be happening this fall. And this goes from the Moon River RV Park residents. We're going to detour them around the crossing again to gain access in and from the RV park. All of these closures will have multiple notifications and through multiple venues. In addition, my team, they go out and they actually deliver flyers to the neighborhoods just to make sure that we are ensuring that the citizens know what's happening. And then we also have a tire replacement project. Again, 48,000 ties in our system. We're doing 3,000 ties right now, which will be on Port Track between Dubertel Street and SR 240. See here. A replacement. This will also help us and also help support the us increasing speeds. And we're working on funding for several other track-related projects in the coming years to again continue to increase up to Class 2 track conditions. So also in 2025, we're going to be requesting a quiet zone application from the Federal Railroad Administration for the stretch of track between Center Parkway all the way to SR 240, which will allow for different additions to be made so that they don't have to pull the horn in the middle of the night and disrupt the residents. So that's our goal there. And then I want to talk about the intermodal facility. I'm checking time. So the next is the Port's planned project on our rail intermodal facility, which builds again upon the Port and City prior rail and Horn Rapids industrial planning. What we are currently doing, we are under contract and in escrow for an industrial land development exchange. The Port plans to develop an intermodal facility with undeveloped industrial land in North Richland. City first partnered with private industry that hasn't been successful. So we're basically exchanging property for the benefit of the city, for the benefit of the Port, where we both basically take on our roles that are probably better for the Port to manage and coordinate on the rail side, on the transportation side, typically is more of a Port function. So the proposed intermodal facility will serve the rail-served warehousing, loading facilities for Eastern Washington goods shipped from locations across Western US and globally. It's also going to connect shippers to move their cargo via truck and rail, moving their products also to the Seaport Alliance in both Seattle and Tacoma. And this facility will allow for products and materials imported into the Pacific Northwest to be moved via rail to North Richland and then go out from there. Kind of like what already happens, but it's mostly all on trucks right now. So we're able to offset this with rail. So this project not only benefits our local shippers, it also leads to additional private sector investment. It also will create local jobs. And our community will benefit from the taxes generated, the jobs supported, and the environmental benefits shifting cargo from truck to rail. The Port of Richland, again, is doing the industrial swap of property that's equal in size. This exchange will provide the Port with land around the existing loops. So the area in blue is what the Port will be acquiring. The property in green is the property that the Port already owns and controls. That lower green though, we are going to give to the city of Richland, so it's actually going to support their parks system as well. So why though? Why rail? The project's important because again, the demand of Eastern Washington goods continues to grow, and rail served distribution and transload hub across this region and really in the Tri-Cities is looked at as a logistics hub. It adds additional capacity to get their goods to market. The Port's rail line is again unique because it's one of the very few in our state that both Class 1s can run direct on, serving customers. And this is ideal for transportation method because it provides an economically beneficial and environmentally responsible way to alleviate some of the current shipping challenges. Rail is more fuel efficient than trucking. Also, one freight train can haul cargo that would otherwise require 300 trucks, lowering cost and carbon emissions. And rail also maximizes efficiency to the seaports because we have the potential to allow for 24/7 operations. Here, it's a critical link to the supply chain. And again, we're looking at constructing additional track. There'll be some additional warehousing. We also want to leverage our locomotive repair facility of 80,000 square feet, which already has some of the companies located in it, such as BioGrow. And we're also currently working on infrastructure planning and anticipate construction to begin in 2025 and 2026. So I just want to go quick on the next few slides.
And we want to again thank all of our partners. This is an open house that we held in July. We had over 100 attendees at that event. They had displays around the room talking about the environmental and economic benefits. We want to again encourage you to visit our website, sign up for general news, stay involved. But I'm going to close with the fact that we see prospects right now between the city and the Port of Benton. Atlas Agro coming online, we have a steel company, we have a battery company, ATI's expansion, Crown-Town's expansion. Right now, we have $4.5 billion of private sector investment that's pending and over 1,000 jobs, and all of them are requesting access to rail. In addition to that, they're asking the Port of Benton for access to barge. So people ask, why is the Port of Benton involved with all this advanced manufacturing, and why does the Port of Pasco and the Port of Benton work so much on value-added ag? This is why. Site discussions always come to land and transportation infrastructure. So that's why we are trying to make sure our asset is ready to serve those needs of not only existing clients, of our existing value-add users, but of future clients that are already requesting its use. So with that, I just want to say thank you to the Council of Governments for your continued partnership as we go after federal grants and your support. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Diane. Good job. Are there any questions for Diane? Okay.
I have a question. I can't find my hand, my raised hand.
Right here.
No, that's what I did. So I just want to say that's a great presentation, lots of information and exciting things ahead, Diane. My biggest concern is that I represent Kennewick. And so we're talking about all of these at-grade crossings in Richland, but the rail completely bisects Kennewick the whole way down. And so what's good for one area or region, and I get the jobs and this and that are very important, but it definitely is going to put way more added pressure on Kennewick, our emergency services. I guess I'd like to kind of have a follow-up, maybe Diane, and kind of see what your thoughts are in order to, this is great with the partnership that you have with Richland, but it severely impacts Kennewick, the whole city. And I guess I'm just thinking that we should probably be included in not only the conversation, but also trying to get federal money or whoever's benefiting from this, that we need to do some upgrades throughout Kennewick as well.
Yeah, Gretel, thanks for the question. I knew it was me coming. And you know, the other reminder we like to share too is in Kennewick also has the intersection of a lot of the train traffic that goes through Yakima. So all the trains that go through downtown Kennewick are not coming to Richland, but I do agree that we should all be working to leverage what's happening in North Richland, and Kennewick included, to make requests for what you need for Kennewick crossings. My recommendation is also be gathering what's coming through, going from Spokane to Yakima, and use that also to add to your grant requests to help justify, again, what the Kennewick community wants to see in downtown Kennewick when making requests on those crossings. I am happy to get you the data. I am happy to share our statistics and any of the mapping information to help support Kennewick's requests through your community.
Yeah, okay, that'd be great, Diane. So maybe we can connect over that.
Happy to.
Because economic development is great. Safety is also, very, very important too. So, and how do trains run these days? Are they not on coal? Run on coal? What's their fuel source?
They're hauling a lot of coal.
Yeah, all a lot of coal. Gretel, some of them are now converting to electric, not all. I don't know exactly the fuel source, so I can follow up with you. I want to say it's probably diesel fuel, not coal. Coal, if it was coal, you'd see black stacks coming out of the top. So it's likely diesel fuel or some blend of that, but I'm happy to follow up with you on that.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead.
I have somewhat similar concerns. First of all, I want to say that, again, I cannot tell you how amazing it is to have the upgrades to the Van Giesen crossing, because I use it every day, at least once, if not 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times. So thank you for that. But I do have concerns about that, especially since just yesterday, leaving work from the Hanford area, and maybe this is something that Richland also has been working with for traffic issues, is that when I was coming south on the Hanford 500 in through Richland, and there was a train that had just started, it was going south, and you probably know all about this or heard at least somewhat about it, because it was very slow, it was, 5 miles per hour, very long. I could not see the end to it, and I couldn't see the beginning at first, and at the road for where 240 turns for Horn Rapids.
Yes.
That right there, everybody decided that they wanted to turn left, even though the traffic they saw was stopped, but they didn't know, I guess, there was a train, even though they were coming from the area where the train was already going. But they piled up in the intersection, blocking southbound traffic on 240 entirely for at least 5 or 6 minutes. And at the same time, I'm somewhat glad it was slow, because then I was able to not have to go all the way down to, what is that, 182? I was able to cross at Duperton because it hadn't gotten there yet. But it was a very long time, and it does cut off a lot of services. Is there communication to the cities, and I'm sure there's probably communications to emergency services regarding when the trains are coming through? And thinking about this weekend, do we know of any trains coming through during the times when the Ironman race is happening?
So again, we don't control the terrain
Right.
times, interstate commerce. So we might get a notice about that. I don't know if the train master notifies emergency services. I can check on that.
Okay.
We again do not control that schedule. That is definitely the
Oh, yeah.
railroads themselves. But to your comment on the traffic issue, this is exactly why we want to do the upgrades to the rail and the rail system.
Right.
Because the sooner we can do that, then those trains can go up to 20 miles an hour and get through that crossing in less than 4 minutes or less. So for us, it's critical to upgrade the rail infrastructure, and that is why. But as far as the train for notice, that's up to the train master, and I don't control that. That is the Class 1 railroads themselves.
Is there any way to at least
We can bring it up.
request
Oh, yeah.
that they do give us that information? Because I feel like it's vital information
We
for our
can
community.
request, but there's a reason there's railroads on the monopoly board, right? But we can request it, and it is a good point too, that, you know, we can also give them a heads up about what we know about events like Ironman or other things that we know. And I actually do think that our engineer, our port engineer does already do that, but I will triple check. And the other thing too to share with this group is we are also updating, there was a traffic study done, Richland, on our planning piece together, we did a traffic study. We're actually updating that traffic study specific to this project. Right now there is, via that traffic study, and from conversations we had, there is capacity for activity, truck traffic, and when we get that completed, we will provide that to the council governments.
Okay. I got 2 other questions.
Oh,
but
sure.
We're running out of time, I can ask you later. I was just wondering also, on the Port of Benton rail, does that also allow for passenger, or is it just for industrial only?
It's not passenger rail.
And then the ties that are gonna be taken out, is there a place they're gonna be put? Are they just gonna be taken to the dump, or is there a way that they can maybe be reused? 'Cause-
They are so in such bad shape, they turn into toothpicks when we take them out. They were relay ties, which are recycled ties when they put them in 1958.
Okay.
So literally, that's the concerns. They are hollow because of and we actually do an ultrasound of them every year so that we can see what's happening inside the tie. We just started to do that because again, we got control of that track. but we take it out and they literally shred into toothpicks, which is also a safety concern.
Yeah.
My greatest concern on safety is making sure that that track structure and that asset has fully been upgraded because so that we do not have a derailment that impacts the citizens of this community. So, that is why we have been really actively focused on this project, and we will remain focused on this project for the upcoming years. And, yes.
Okay, I just know, I know a lot of people that are railroad aficionados, my dad being one of them. I can't tell you how many times we've had to stop the car so he could take a picture of a train as it was about to get out of view of the camera. But I'm thinking that there might be people that might be interested in a little piece of history, perhaps, and maybe a little way to raise funding for something would be being able to sell memorabilia of the ties of like, hey, here's a not for use toothpick that came from the ties of.
I'll ask my engineering team if they want to pedal that. Yeah, thank you, Kate.
Okay. I see that Skip from Port of Kennewick has his hand up.
So just a little bit of history going back, and this is to Gretel's comment. There is a lot of train traffic in downtown Kennewick, and it's becoming increasingly having a negative effect on emergency services. But late in the 1990s, early 2000s, Councilman Paul Parrish, myself as president of Downtown Association, I believe the Port of Kennewick got together and started meeting with the railroad about these projects. Of course, nothing happened, obviously. But there might be some records back there a long time ago about what might have occurred, what might have happened, and what Paul had with conversations with the railroad. Paul was really after it and realized that there was consequences negatively affecting emergency services for Kennewick. So just a little bit of past history and a possible source of information.
Thank you, Skip. And is it UP's yard that's downtown Kennewick, or is it BNSF's?
I think it's BNFS.
BNSF, okay, thank you.
All right. If there aren't any more questions, I think we'll move on to, thank you so much for your presentation. It was really, really informative and very good. We enjoy these. Thank you. Shall we move ahead?
Yes.
Let's move ahead to the action items that we've got on the agenda under number 9.
7.
Or 7. I better put my glasses on.
So I digress. I believe we'll continue to have quorum if you want to move through the agenda as presented, or we can skip to the action items. As up to your
Okay, we're gonna be okay?
Either way, yes, we are okay.
Okay, that's great. Let's move on to the consent agenda. We've got the voucher summaries, the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting from August, and the TIP amendments. And the RRLF balance report.
Just to note, the minutes are as corrected. The copy that went out in the original packet had listed Vicki Gordon as adjourning the meeting, and it was in fact adjourned by Kate. So that has been corrected.
Yeah.
Madam Chairman, I move approval of the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay, Skip Novakovich moved and Kate seconded the approval of the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
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 As corrected. All opposed? Okay, thank you. Reports. Aaron,
All righty,
it's the Aaron show.
well, hopefully not that long. All right, the first item we have is item 8AI or 8A1. This is your monthly transportation improvement program obligation status update. So this is the tip. So just as a reminder, as the Metropolitan Planning Organization for the region, we have a certain amount of funding that we have to spend. That's called our obligation authority target. Our target for this past federal fiscal year was 3.85. And as a region, we spent over that, which is good. It means that our target next year will be lower, and we're helping the state reach their statewide target. So we had 7 projects obligate this year for 4.4 million. Last month, you would have seen we had the same amount of projects for less amount. The city of Kennewick fully obligated one of their projects, giving us to that 4.4. We have exceeded our target by almost $600,000, setting ourselves up very well for federal fiscal year 2025, and we will be anticipating to have a call for projects probably around this time next year. Going on to item 2 is just an update on the regional bicycle plan. So just as a reminder, the regional bicycle plan will provide a regional analysis of the current bicycle facilities, identify gaps, and develop a regional bicycle network to support local jurisdictions in developing their bicycle facilities. So since we met last, we had a working group meeting on September 4th. We presented the survey results, a draft of the regional bicycle network, and then brainstormed goals / levels of commitment, almost like a subscription level or a subscription level. So level 1, you get this, level 2 is level 1, and then this, so on and so forth, just as seeing a litmus test of where people want to commit things for the next 4 years. It was a good discussion, and a copy of this presentation was in your board packet. Just a high level thing, there's 455 responses, and about 20% of the responses say they commute via bicycle once a week, which I thought was a pretty good stat for our region. Any questions on the bicycle plan before we go on to the general update?
How many responses did you say?
455.
And 20% were,
Say they commit at least one time a week.
wow. Good for them.
All right, so for a general update, this is activities that myself and the regional planning team have been doing over the past month. So you might have started to see the tubes across the road again. These are the fall counts. Normally during the fall is when we do our rural count locations to make sure that we're collecting those harvest numbers for the in those more rural locations. There's also going to be some urban recounts. I know West Richland got put into the rural category, so saw this morning there were some tubes out in West Richland. We attended the Kennewick Farmers Market on August 28th to talk about our bicycle plan, our EV infrastructure analysis, our art contest, which we will be discussing here on the next slide, and then also talking about our air quality campaign that you might have seen popping up on our social medias. And just a quick thank you to all of our jurisdictional partners that participated in that. Last is from Disability Rights Washington. They have challenged elected public officials to participate in the Week Without Driving Challenge. That'll take place September 30th through October 6th to understand the challenges of non-drivers and what they face every day trying to commute throughout our community. If you are an elected official or you are participating in the Week Without Driving Challenge, Benton-Franklin Transit has asked for you to reach out to them. They would like to interview you and hear kind of your before and after on that. All right, so as we have been briefing you on the art contest, the BFCOG first annual art contest, we had 2 entries, and when the contest was posted, it was going to be identified as the board will be picking the winner at the September board meeting. So as there were 2 entries. These are the finalists that will be picked by the board today. So on the left, we have a depiction by one artist of what windmills could do to our region. And then number 2 is a diagram or model of a landscape design for Tri-Cities to conserve water and energy. We'll let those sink in for a minute. Okay, with that, can everybody that is voting for artist number 1 say aye or raise their hand? Okay, we've got Gretel and Roy, so there's 2. Okay, artist number 2. 1, 2, 3, all right. We will congratulate artist number 2. Thank you, board members, for that. And just a reminder, one of the winner of the art contest, their art will be displayed in one of our upcoming plans. So we will find a way to incorporate this landscape design for Tri-Cities to conserve water and energy. It's one of our documents.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Thank you to everyone on the board as well. Updates to the local government programs and economic development district. So normally we lead off in our agenda with the economic development district. The big thing today is going to be going through 2024 updates. So we will be discussing that after we provide some general updates here. So our local government programs, we're still working through our ARPA funded programs with Benton-Franklin County and just continually providing technical assistance across the region. We do have a couple items that are a grant related item we'll talk about for that direct work, but still working through those programs. We have identified, keep getting funding opportunities. Just to really, and we'll go further, Kristen will go into further detail at the next slide, but mainly forwarding funding opportunities related to aviation, legal system innovation, highway safety, and rural clean energy projects to our various communities. And some of these were targeted as well. So aviation obviously went to Port Pasco. And we'll go further a little bit into some more of our grant programs next. So.
Good morning, everyone. So just as a quick reminder of what I do as a grant navigator, not only do I send out grants that come across my way, but I also will do kind of a drill down, because some of them, as you know, are several pages, if not dozens of pages long. And then from there, if somebody needs assistance with either editing, research, writing it, submitting it, then I can assist in that way. These are 2 of the programs that I've been working on over the last month. The first one is the Columbia Connects project, and this is being headed up by Goodwill Industries. It's going to cover 13 counties in central and southeast Washington, and helping to get broadband and accessibility to technology to our underserved communities. That one will be submitted on Monday. And it's a huge coalition of people that are working on that. We're working just as a support staff, helping to do some of the research, the editing, and then providing any information or updates that they may need. The second one is with Benton County prosecutors. This was an innovation grant that came out of the Department of Commerce. And I sent it out, and Benton County wrote back saying the prosecutor's looking for some funding for some additional staff. As many of you know, the prosecutor's offices in this area are highly taxed. And so I helped them to write this, submit it, research, and kind of go over the entire process with them. That was submitted on Monday. And then Michelle will go over one of the other programs that we're working on as well for brownfields. Does anyone have any questions about those or grants in general for me? All right, thank you.
All right. And then just some of our more local government program outreach programs here. We held our second Small City Summit of the year a couple days ago on September 18th, really to discuss with our member communities the grant navigation program and Kristen's work with the BFCOG. And then Aaron provided an update on the regional bike plan. So we want to thank Port of Kennewick, City of Kennewick, City of Richland, Prosser EDA, and Benton County staff for attending. That's a Zoom meeting we offer twice a year. So some of the, not necessarily the smallest cities involved there, but really it's information and content for all of our member jurisdictions as well. So got some great participation and questions from that group. And then we'll be holding our Congressional Connections meeting with our federal elected staff delegation on September 30th. All spots are filled for that date already. So we understand that it's capital improvement plan season and budget season for a lot of our communities and our ports as we round out the year with election times and anticipating funding opportunities for projects in the coming years. So we figured that was going to be a pretty popular discussion day. Okay, so our item here is our next item for the Economic Development District is the 2024 SEDS update. And if you're new here, we'll go through a little bit of a background. And if you've been on the board for a while, you understand that we do this every year. But what is it? It stands for our Community Economic Development Strategy. And it's a regional strategy-driven plan for economic development. It's a foundational document that's required of economic development districts in accordance with the Economic Development Administration at the federal level. So it is a required foundational document, and it's a necessary component for us to maintain our economic development district status. The SEDS process is really to provide a regional look at strategies for economic development in the region, identify priorities and targeted industries. It is vital for helping to secure not only EDA funding, but other having a regional list such as this of projects and goals and strategies is integral to helping secure federal funding of other sources as well. And it provides an opportunity for regional collaboration on economic development, development infrastructure, and those projects. So really some of the outlines of our current SEDS and SEDS in general is just to align our regional goals. We want to help streamline resources and support and assistance that we provide to our member communities. It provides a document that discusses one of the vital components and required components is talking about economic resilience. So we do have some information in there on remaining resilient to economic changes, information that we can help with that. And obviously the main outcome is increased funding for local projects from the federal level. So the process we used this year, as you recall, we had previously an Economic Development District SEDS committee, but now we have the EDAC, the Economic Development District Advisory Committee. So part of our initial meetings with them was obviously getting the new committee on board, but then providing an introduction to the SEDS, which we did in May. May through July, and really even before that, there was staff research that went into the SEDS, what we can do for updates. We did outreach to all of our member communities about their projects and worked on content upgrades. We provided a list of recommended changes to the EDAC at their July meeting. And then in August, we provided a revised document for our EDAC SEDS subcommittee peer review period. So it's about 2 weeks for economic development practitioners and just other people on our committee to really review the document, talk about anything, whether it's substantive details or even formatting changes. We received feedback to that and then held our meeting with EDAC on September 4th. At which point, as their role in committee, they recommended approval of the amendments, subject to some formatting changes to the board, the COG board, this body here today. We'll go in a little bit on some of these updates. So some of the updates, and I think one of the biggest formatting changes is cleaning up some of the redundant language in there and moving some of the content around. We went from a 76-page document to about a 55-page document. If you look at SEDS around the country and around our region, some of them are as small as 15 to 20 pages. Some of them are, for larger communities, are upwards of 200 pages. So really there's no right way of doing the form and content, but we wanted to make sure that we could clean up some of the redundant information while it still meets the intent and requirement, but make it easier to read and follow. We updated our regional data. Our last data on the economic background of Benton-Franklin County was counties in 2021. So we were able to get new data for economic conditions, employment conditions, population growth from as recent as December of 2023. So really wanted to update the data in there and put that in there. And then an updated project list. So we went through our project list and removed some completed projects. We added some new projects. And we looked at, infrastructure and utility projects are vital to economic development, as we talked about with Port of Benton earlier today. But there's also some community large-scale projects like the Northwest Clean Energy Park and Ryman Industrial Center and the Ames Center at the Pasco Airport that encompass a number of different economic development infrastructure type projects. We wanted to make sure that we're capturing some of these community development projects as well in there. And then we wanted to make sure that all the projects are oriented with the goals of the sets, and make sure that we have some that actually meet municipal infrastructure, diversification and economic resilience and those sorts of goals. Okay, we got it. So what's next? So the SEDS is a 5-year document, and each year we provide small amendments. I don't want to say a check the box type of amendment, but we do have to review it. Sometimes the EDA says you need to provide a new component, that sort of thing. So 2025 is our last, simple update of the SEDS. 2025 is going to be our big revision year. This is where we're going to fully open the SEDS. We're going to do a new SWOT analysis, which is going to begin in November and conclude in January. From that regional SWOT analysis, the EDAC will be working on revised strategic visions, goals, and objectives, and really provide goals and objectives that guide project funding eligibility and outlines regional priorities. The EDAC has grown to provide, to have membership from the private sector and nonprofit industries, education. We are going to be boosting our membership there to get more of a regional view of this as we develop our goals and objectives, and really look to beyond. 2021 was the first post-COVID year, so we want to look to beyond. Hey, we've had a number of years post-COVID, so what are our new goals and objectives and priorities? And as we all know, a number of our regional priorities have significantly changed in the last couple of years. And we want to do a focused and refined project list. So we talked about multifaceted development projects, including those, working with our member communities to make sure that they are spoken to in the SEDS. And then we talked a little bit about ranking and prioritization of projects. What is the highest priority for each agency? If we could have and we're still fleshing out how this would look. We've had some preliminary discussions on this, but we want to make sure that whether they're applying for EDA funding directly related to the SEDS, or you all are providing or applying for federal funding where you have to be on a regional list, that we can back up our support for that funding to say, hey, this was identified as a big regional priority for our community, specific to this project. And so the remaining tasks for this 2024 update is we're currently in our little workshop and discussion. We can do some Q&A after this. October 18th would be where we would bring back any changes or recommendations or comments from this meeting for the COG board determination of approval of the 2024 update. And then that update is due at the end of October to EDA. November, and I'm kind of getting thrown off on the date a little bit. In November of 2024, we will kick off our 2025 SEDS SWOT update. So that will entail some questionnaires that will be sent out to regional stakeholders, some follow-ups, and then likely follow up with an expanded EDAC workshop in January to go through all of the data, identify what we can distill down, make it easy to read, and how it can help identify regional goals and projects. And then, of course, we will be issuing another annual update by December for presentation to the board at the December meeting on just actions and successes with regard to the SEDS this year in 2024. So I'm going to take a break and see if there's any questions. But that's what I have as far as our update for the SEDS this
Too
year.
bad you don't have anything to do. Golly. That's great. Any questions for Zach?
I'm wondering, with the changes that were recommended, what would the page amount change from and then to? You said it was how long? currently?
We're about 55 pages right now.
Yeah.
So, looking in the new year,
Uh-huh.
it would depend on how we want to describe our goals and visions and successes. We want to make sure that we're hitting all of the components that are required of EDA, but we also want to make it a usable and readable document for the community. It can be a marketing document, essentially, if the industry comes in. What is the regional economic development goals? It's a document that each city I would say should use, but could use to just, hey, this is how we coordinate with the region. And obviously the representatives of EDAC will need to use it as well. So yeah, we want to make sure that we include all the content. We include the content that our committee and our member jurisdictions want in there to help support their projects. But make sure that it's also, readable and easy to use. So whether that's more graphics, that sort of thing, or we reduce some of the wordiness of some paragraphs, that's remained to be seen next year.
So it's not so much that we're looking to get it to less pages, it's just that we're trying to make it more efficient in providing the
Exactly.
information.
Mhm.
Okay, so if it ends up being 55 pages, but it's got a bunch of really great graphics that can be used, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. Like I said, some of our reductions is we had our goals and objectives listed in one section, and then we had it listed in another section and another section. So it's okay. How can we format that to make it more readable?
Yeah.
You bet.
Any questions? All right,
All right, we'll see you in October.
thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Okay,
Send that back to Michelle. Or Michelle's got it.
I got it, thank you. Okay, Executive Director's Report. So I am much relieved that the 2023 financial audit is now completed. We had our exit conference on August 17th. Thank you to Vicki and Brian for participating in that. I know the auditor's office and our staff always appreciate having someone there to hear the audit exit conference besides us. We did receive 2 findings in this audit, and one of which resulted in a modified opinion on our federal single audit. So one occurred for incorrect calculation of our bad debt total on the annual financial report, which is one of those nitpicky things that it needs to be reported in a certain way in the financial report. And it had to do with when we finally in 23 were able to collect all of that, the 2 big bad debts that had been held up in the legal process for a number of years. Because so much money came in at one time and counterbalanced what we had on the books as bad debt, it just reflected incorrectly the way we reported it on the financial report. So we did get a finding for that because we didn't ask the help desk to tell us how to do it appropriately. Note to self. We probably will never have that situation again. But the second was incorrect semi-annual financial report submission to EDA for our CARES revolving loan fund. And this one is really tough for me to swallow, I have to admit, because it's just it was one of those comedy of errors for us where we had 3 different staff people in 2023 that were involved in submitting those 2 semi-annual reports. In 2022, EDA had adopted a new process for submitting those reports. So it's an online program that we didn't use previously. And they absolutely have a training video readily available on the website to tell you how the report works. But the report is unusual. So you have to go into one section and update the information on each individual loan for that 6-month period, and then it auto-populates and updates the cumulative information in the report. So if you don't know that that's how the report works, when you look at the report, there are fields that you cannot change and a few fields that you can change in the report. And so what happened in both submissions of the report is staff updated the couple of fields they saw that they could change, and they were submitted to EDA. So the reports were completed, and they were submitted on time, but because internally, we failed to make sure that the new staff people understood how the report worked, the report information was in fact not accurate. The other place where the ball got dropped is that when the report is uploaded into EDA's system, the EDA project officer has the opportunity to review and send back those reports for correction. Both reports were accepted, even though they very clearly had the same information as the previous two reports, so nothing had changed. So what might have been a fail-safe to say, hey, you guys made a mistake, didn't actually happen. So we received the modified opinion because unfortunately, or fortunately, for the EDA CARES program, our only obligation to EDA is to file these two financial reports each year. So we had 100% failure in the accuracy of our two reports that we submitted. As far as the consequences of that modified opinion finding, if you'll recall at the end of last year's audit, I was very excited that we'd had 3 years of clean federal audits so we could go to a step down level of review. Well, now we're back to our stepped up at level of review. So that's really the only shift is that our audit reviews a higher number of transactions, and it's the same level that we have reviewed for the last 3 years. Corrective action reports were filed for both of those to correct those. In terms of the financial report, again, this is part of the reason why we made the decision to hire a full-time accounting staff person so that we would have that consistency and level of detail that we've been missing previously, so that the finding on the bad debt is just a consequence of that. So I don't believe that will be an issue moving forward. We did put together a very detailed process and procedure and links to all the training for the EDA financial reports, so we won't have that problem again in the future either. So as disappointing as it is for me to actually have findings, I really take that personally and hate it a lot. At the same time, it's important to note that these were both administrative in nature and not a poor reflection on any of our fiscal responsibility as an agency. Is there any questions or comments on that? I'll take my lashing now before we move forward with the report.
The auditors took the corrective action and they were very gracious in accepting those. And I don't think they'll happen again.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Was the requirement to submit them or submit them correctly?
Well, I suppose the inference is that you should submit them correctly, but.
Well, and up until now, we hired Alexis, but we had a contract accountant that we were working with that wasn't full-time. So this will help a lot.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just not understanding why. I don't understand when you had said that, sorry, let me reword my thoughts. On the previous screen, go back, one more, sorry. Where it just said that the opinion was modified because the submission of 2 reports is the only requirement. So did it make it better for us with the modification or worse for us?
No, so an unmodified opinion is a fully clean audit. You did everything the way you were supposed to. Modified opinion means that they reviewed our activities and we did not do we didn't meet all of our obligations to the federal agency. So
Did they take an opportunity for improvement and making certain that they returned back this was not accurate?
I did make sure to bring that to their attention, and like I say, I don't think there'll be any consequences other than, in our next federal single audit that we will still have that higher level of review, but yes, but I did make sure that they were aware that they also owned a tiny bit of this responsibility.
There was a piece of Swiss cheese missing.
Yes, there was. Yes, he was chagrined when I brought it to his attention that the reports were wrong the same way I was when the auditor brought it to my attention. so. Staffing updates. I was so excited prematurely last month about the hiring of our executive admin communications coordinator because our friends at Bechtel were very slow in their HR process. After she started to work with us, she was offered a position that she had interviewed for 2 or 3 months prior before accepting our position. And of course, gosh, that was a job with the salary and upward mobility that we just could not match as much as I would have liked to. So thankfully, because it had not been a long length of time, we did still have a pool of candidates that we had reviewed and interviewed. And so our new executive admin and communications coordinator will be starting for us on October 7th. So I am both sad and happy about that.
Was Patel the
It was Bechtel,
Bechtel, so I Hanford nodded,
yes. Also, just as an FYI, we're doing an all-staff professional development over the next 8 weeks. We're reviewing the book, The Art of Gathering. One of the requests for development that all of our staff had was to know and understand more about facilitating meetings and the kinds of gatherings that we work on. And so this is our opportunity to work on that. And our plan is that once we've completed this this book and taken in all of its strategies, we're going to use that as a team to plan a public-facing event for the COG in 2025 and kind of practice what we've learned. So we'll keep you posted on that. We had a very busy month for brownfields. We had a site visit on Monday, September 9th by Cyrus Gorman, who's been our environmental program manager with Stantec Consulting, and then Meredith Lightbody, who's our program officer with EPA, because they were coming for the workshop the following day. So since they were here, we did a windshield tour of the various properties where we'd done assessments and looked at areas where plans had been produced during our current grant. It was great to actually work with them both in person for the first time after 3 years on that project. Then on the following day, on the 10th, nope, I take that back. We're still on the 9th. So the afternoon of the 9th, because we're planning to submit our application for a renewed brownfields grant for FY26. Kristen and I have started coordinating with Stantec, who thank you all for approving their assistance on that grant application last month. The submission deadline is November 14th, but on the 9th, we hosted several of our jurisdictions to look at being a potential new partner in the next grant application. So one of the requirements for EPA in a second application is that at least one of the coalition members is new and had not been part of the previous coalition. We're also required to add, or not required to add, but encouraged to have a nonprofit coalition member. So the coalition, it has to be at least 2 organizations. It could be as many as 4, not counting the lead agency, which will be us. So we wanted to get a sense of, especially our smaller communities who were not coalition members the first go around, to see what projects might apply, who would be advantageous to be listed as a strategic partner in the application. Again, recognizing that any property or property owner in the 2 counties can actually benefit from the grant if we're successful receiving the funds. So we're still working through that evaluation process on who will be part of the main coalition itself. Kate, I do not have West Richland on this slide, but West Richland was also invited to that discussion, and we do want to talk to them. Okay. And then the Brownfields workshop on the 10th, that was one that Mandy Wallner from the City of Richland and I worked with the Department of Ecology and the Center for Creative Land Use to coordinate in Richland. There were 35 attendees, including people from Tri-Cities, Kittitas, Wenatchee, and Yakima. Maricela from Prosser came. That was great to have her there. And then Lizzie from our COG staff was also there with me as well. Mandy facilitated a walking tour of several former brownfields in the downtown area. And then I did a quick lessons learned update about what we learned from our current assessment grant activities. Marisela, I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there anything you want to add about the workshop since you were able to attend?
Yeah, it was I really appreciated that there were folks from so many different departments, the Department of Commerce, the Department of Ecology, EPA. I really appreciated the time that the workshop gave to speak with folks one-on-one and to network with them. And it was beneficial to have the time and the opportunity to discuss particular problems. We have a site in Prosser that doesn't fit neatly necessarily into particular programs that are currently being offered, but everyone was really helpful about offering their time to kind of put their heads together and to see how we can potentially work around that. And they've also been following up with me via email, as well as our mayor and city manager. So it was just nice to establish those relationships and greet them in person, and then just to continue the conversation. So, and thank you to Michelle for inviting us to partner with BFCOG for this next round of brownfield grant applications. So we're just really looking forward to seeing how this can help us achieve our goals in Prosser.
Thank you. Just to go back, so then of course you have other items in your report from me. We are going to talk a little bit more about our broadband activities under our action items. Have any questions?
Thank you.
Sorry, I have a question about the Mid-Columbia Buildings Appeals Commission. I know we haven't heard much about that at all, and that we're gonna get an update on, or the completion, you aim for that on November 1st. Has there been any changes at all, or are we deciding that
It's
we're gonna go forward with it, we're gonna try and dissolve it?
It's waiting for me
Okay.
to have time to actually just compile all of the structure information to get back out to the jurisdictions, to get their buy-in at the staff level, bring back to our board. But honestly, between the staffing changes, the audit, and the other thing, I just haven't had a minute to work on it, and we haven't had anybody else that we could work. It has been ridiculous, but that's why I do have that goal of November 1st. Now that the audit's done and we'll have staffing back on board, my goal for October is just to focus on getting that done. Ideally, would probably be in the first quarter before we would see that start to trickle back up to our board and the jurisdictions themselves to decide how they want to take action on it.
Okay. Thank you.
But no one's been meeting down the door yet about it. But yes, I have not lost track of it. It's just strictly big capacity. So that's a great question. Okay, Aaron.
All right.
Thank you.
So the first action item we have in front of you is item 9A1, which is the Regional Climate Change Planning MOU and receiving grant funds. So just some background information on this. So the Council of Governments has been working with 5 jurisdictions, Benton County, Kennewick, Richland, Pasco, and West Richland, on a regional approach to climate change. Only those are the 5 jurisdictions that approached us to come up with this regional approach. Other jurisdictions already have consultants for this. These jurisdictions received a funding award from the Department of Commerce for the 2023 through 2025 climate planning grant to complete the new climate change and resiliency elements and the requirements associated with the implementation of House Bill 1181. So the Council of Governments will be leading the regional approach versus an individual scope. The Department of Commerce highly encourages this effort, as climate change will impact regions, not just individual cities or counties. So we will be the contract lead for the planning portion of this grant, and then jurisdictions will be the lead for the implementation portions of this grant. So with this, jurisdictions determined that the budget of 17.65% from each of their grant awards totaling $600,000 will be the total amount for the planning portion. This is a cost saving measure amongst all of the jurisdictions versus just doing it individually. 17.65% is less. The Department of Commerce will redirect that 17.65% of each jurisdiction's grant award and contract with the Council of Governments to directly receive a cumulative $600,000. The COG will issue an RFP to contract with a consulting firm who will conduct the regional climate change planning activities. Each jurisdiction will receive the remaining amount of the original grant award directly from Commerce to execute the implementation activities. So with this, there's a tight turnaround with these contracts and the execution, especially with some uncertainty on whether climate funds will be available after November. So the RFP will be open for 2 weeks, which is shorter than our procurement. But this is due to, this was approved by Commerce and allowed by our jurisdictions. This is why we're asking the board to approve the draft MOU that's within your packet and authorize the executive director to approve minor edits to streamline the process. The Department of Commerce contract needs to be executed before October 31st. The COG will not sign the Commerce contract or issue a contract with a consultant until the MOU has been signed by all of the participating jurisdictions. So with that, there are 2 motions on the screen. These are 2 separate motions, not option A and option B. So there is proposed motion 1, and then with that, there will be a second action for proposed motion 2. Any questions?
Any questions or discussion?
I have a question about, would you, Aaron, is the COG willing to take suggestions for potential consultation firms that may be interested in this work to be included in the RFP, or how does that process work?
Yeah, if there are any consultant firms that you would recommend, I am more than glad to send the RFP to them. The RFP is listed on the front page of our website, but I can shoot you an email to gather their information.
Sure, yeah, that'd be great. I do have somebody in mind that I would love to include at least to be considered.
Thank you.
Great.
You mentioned that this may change after the November election. So why do it now? If things may just.
So all of the grant has been awarded to each of the jurisdictions. After November, there is some uncertainty that the funding could be revoked. So Commerce has said if you have your contract signed and executed before October 31st, that ensures all the jurisdictions to receive their funding.
Very important. Do I hear a motion for proposed motion number 1? Or, yeah, that's what I'm asking.
I move to approve the execution of the regional approach to climate change planning MOU as presented and direct that due to time constraints, if minor edits are needed, the executive director will present the final executed MOU for ratification at the next available board meeting.
Thank you, Kate. Is there a second?
Second, Marcella.
Thank you, Marcella. It's been moved and seconded to approve proposed motion number 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Oh, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
I want to be wherever Roy is.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't think that's a backdrop.
Oh,
I'm on the beach in St. Pete, Florida. Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, do I hear, is there any discussion about proposed motion number 2? Prior to a motion to approve? All right. Do I hear a motion for proposed motion number 2?
I move to authorize the executive director to accept a regional climate change planning grant from the Department of Commerce on behalf of the jurisdictions included in the MOU of up to $600,000.
Is there a second?
I second that, Maricela.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept proposed motion number 2. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, Aaron.
All right, sweet.
Okay.
Next is 9A2, the Benton-Franklin Council of Governments 2025 Regional Transportation Priorities. So each year, the Council of Governments coordinates an updated list of regional transportation priority projects. This listing can be very useful to the COG, jurisdictional partners, other organizations in accomplishing planning tasks. This listing can provide information at the local, state, and federal to support the pursuit of projects and funding, including grant applications. This year, we did a prioritized list that was voted on at the Technical Advisory Committee, the TAC.
Oh,
And this is the list that was compiled and voted on at the TAC and recommended for approval. You can see on the left-hand side, that would be the front page. There are the top 6 regional projects, and then the other projects that received votes or the other projects of regional significance will be on the back side of the page. That is 7 through 11.
Okay, do we have any discussion or questions about this for Aaron? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the Benton-Franklin Council of Governments 2025 Regional Transportation Priorities as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that. It's Gretel.
Thank you, Gretel. It's been moved and seconded to approve the Benton-Franklin Council of Governments 2025 Regional Transportation Priorities. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. No EDD action items for this month. COG action items, Michelle.
So the COG action item we have is for authorization to partner in the Columbia Connects project, building the digital divide via MOU. So BFCOG, as the facilitator of the Benton-Franklin Broadband Action Team, has been coordinating and supporting Goodwill of the Columbia as they organize a coalition to submit an NTIA digital equity competitive grant for $5 million. Crosses Benton, Franklin, and Walla Walla counties. Is there one more county?
Those are the three, yeah,
Just the
those
3
are-
counties for area. Kristen has been supporting the application preparation as our grant navigator. Currently, the coalition has 35 organizations with varying levels of responsibility. By signing the MOU, it's clarifying who are coalition members and also just clarifies each participant's resource sharing and IP rights. So it does not financially or programmatically obligate the COG. It just clarifies that we are part of the coalition. Slide. We will be committing in-kind support for the grant proposal because it does require a 10% match overall. So those 35 agencies are contributing some level of match for us. We're committing in-kind support that aligns with the work we are already doing as the facilitator of the BAT. So staff time, meeting space, et cetera, that goes right along with those digital equity activities. So the proposed motion is just authorization so that I can sign that MOU to clarify that we are a partner in the coalition and supporting their efforts in that application.
Are there any questions for Michelle on this project? Discussion? Hearing none, I would entertain the motion.
I move to authorize the executive director to sign the MOU between Goodwill Industries of the Columbia and other organizations to include Benton-Franklin Council of Governments as a partner in the Columbia Connect project, bridging the digital divide.
For a second. Thanks, Roy. I think that was a second from Roy.
Yeah.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to authorize the executive director to sign the MOU between Goodwill Industries of the Columbia and other organizations to include BFCOG as a partner in the Columbia Connects project, bridging the digital divide. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Very good. Good project. All right, any new business? I don't think there was any planned.
I would just say the only new business is that we will put and send it out related to the
Okay,
daytime, et cetera, opinions about the board meeting, and we'll let you know what we find out.
all right, thank you. Director updates. Do we have, should I just go through the list?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. City of Benton City, do you have any updates from Benton City? Len still here?
He is not.
Okay. Gretel with the City of Kennewick, any updates?
Oh. No, I don't really have anything at this time.
Nothing new? Thank you. All right, Charles from City of Pasco.
Hi, thank you so much. I mean, updates, we have a lot going on in the city of Pasco, but if
Whoops. What happened?
We might have lost you, Charles.
Oh, there he is.
He does not have any audio right now.
Oh, okay.
There is a lot going on in the City of Pasco, I know that. We can't hear you, Charles, so don't update there, I guess. Oh, there he goes.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Anyways, no real updates, but if I can just, I couldn't get myself unmuted in time for the regional transportation projects, but you know, I'll be honest with you guys, I am a little disappointed with the technical advisory committees, you know, that their votes. I look at the Road 68 and the Road 100 corridor right through there is really, you know, arguably the biggest mess we have transportation related in what is, you know, rightly described as the third largest metropolitan area in the state. I mean, we have backups there that go from one county to the other across the bridge. And so to see, you know, the Road 76 overpass, which would help alleviate that, you know, be all the way down at number 6 on the list. I know it made the list, but that's still a little disheartening. Look, I know for a long time, just to speak from the heart here, you know, Pasco has been kind of the the smaller sibling of the group, you know, the redheaded stepchild, if you will. But obviously, we are seeing just exponential growth out here in West Pasco, and you know, it's just as much as we can continue to keep our eye on what's happening here and help alleviate some of the massive growth we see here is going to help, you know, affect our region in a whole in a real, you know, positive way. And then, you know, even out at Amazon, and of course I'm, you know, being the kind of the local guy, you know, defending the local projects here that, you know, are in my jurisdiction. But you know, even seeing what's going on out there at Amazon at the A Street interchange, and you know how much that needs to be modernized. It's only going to be a matter of time till Amazon's one of the largest employers here in the region. And so, you know, supporting that also is, I think, really, really important. And so, you know, if I can just, I guess, put a bug in people's ear, and, you know, coming years that, you know, there are just a lot of opportunities here in Pasco that are going to affect the region as a whole. And I know, only being one municipality kind of on this side of the river, we don't have as, you know, quite the representation that we do. And I get that. But yeah, I think just considering that Road 68 to Road 100 corridor and how busy it is, how congested it is, how many issues there are, and regardless of, you know, how we got to this point, this is our opportunity to fix that for, you know, the betterment of the region and everything. So just yeah, that's about all I have. Appreciate the COG's work on everything, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
I have a quick question. Can I ask Charles a quick question?
Sure.
In regards to Amazon coming on and some of those warehouses and things in the port area, is there a plan? I mean, when big, huge companies like that go in and they have huge freight, you know, they're going to be sending all these trucks. And I don't even know if they paid traffic impact fees. I know the city of Kennewick was not alerted at all for any sort of SEPA studies or information letting anyone know that that was going to be happening. But I mean, are there other internal funds? Is the city going to be doing anything to help with the issue of the Amazon area, or is that just or does Pasco just think that's a highway issue there?
Well, really, really good question, Gretel, and I appreciate that question so much. Maria, Miss Sarah, who is sitting in the conference room, would be so much better at being able to answer that. She's a lot smarter than I am and much more knowledgeable about that, and I would defer to her. She's probably got a really good answer for us.
Who is that? Maria?
Maria's not.
Oh, okay. She's not. Okay.
Maybe
Greg-
Charles, would you mind following up with me? I guess I'm just wondering about that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
I'll talk to you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Maricela from Prosser.
Hi, yeah, in addition to the Brownfields workshop, which was mentioned earlier, we are beginning to move to adjust our budget for the coming year to really support traffic calming measures and pedestrian projects in Prosser. We're making great strides in reaching a consensus as a city that reducing car dependency is in the best interest of our citizens, both for health and well-being, but also to keep taxes low and to really provide alternative ways of getting around, which are more healthful and help provide a more pleasant environment and to help support our small businesses. So I'm very excited that we're really beginning to see kind of a philosophical change about what our streets are for and how the streets can serve our people and our businesses.
Good, thank you, Maricela. Johanna.
City of Richland, we're actually working on Ironman this weekend. So if you guys are looking to a place for volunteer, there's a lot of openings. It's about 4 hours. So great event that we're going to have here in Tri-Cities. We will be having a workshop about parking. There has been a lot of interest from some of our city council members to really address the planning and codes that we have right now would require so much parking in some of our downtown, limiting the ability of some of those homeowners to really build ADUs or just add to their property. So that's gonna be in a workshop. I'm not sure which month we're gonna have that workshop, but it's coming up. The other, this is more of a question to Michelle in regards to the digital, what was that? The digital initiative that you guys have with the MOU with Colombian Industries.
Yes.
There was just one organization that I believe should be here, and I'm surprised not seeing it over there. That's the Tri-Cities Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. They have been very diligent about working with the small, minority of Latinos in just about every area, Benton-Franklin, Walla Walla County. There were one of those leading companies or organizations that actually not only did a lot of the vaccination, but some of the funding in regards, to COVID funding. So I think that they should be part of this group. I'm not sure what type of due diligence do we do to ensure that these people or these groups that are part of this MOU are actually organizations that should be there. I see some of these organizations are kind of newer. We don't know the reputation or the background, and would like to maybe have some of that information out to us so we know who they are, what they've done in the community, kind of what you've done for me lately. And I think that's very important, especially when we sign an MOU and we're backing all the organizations that I'm not aware of. So I would like to get more information as to who they are, what have they done for the community, why they're over here on this list. That's all.
Great, and we will follow up again, the lead for this particular project and the pulling together of the coalition has been Goodwill of the Columbia. So we are one of the 35 rather than the one taking the lead, but we can absolutely get the information. I think as the application finishes up, I know right now we're submitting our individual information to them, and I believe all the rest of the partners are as well. Before the application gets submitted, we'll have a better idea of who is participating in what ways. In the report, we kind of listed their RACI matrix that Goodwill had as far as the different kinds of partners, those that are partnering where they're actually taking responsibility to execute information. Some like us that are, we're collaborative in that we're providing technical assistance or information, and then some that are just being informed. And so they may be participating just as an informed partner and not actually obligating some follow through. So that might explain that, but once the application is finished, we can circle back and give some of that detail.
Okay, good. Thank you. Kate, from what's going on in West Richland?
Oh, we got a lot going on, but the big thing is we recently have come into a contract with a, oh gosh, what are they called? The people that go talk to the state folks and the federal folks and say, hey, we need. Oh my gosh, brain. We recently entered into a contract with a lobbyist, and so we have a legislative priority list that actually is numbered now, which is great. And we are, as Richland is, getting ready for the Ironman competition on very early Sunday morning. And I know that at least on our Facebook page, we have put out information. I think it must have been Wednesday morning, this past Wednesday morning, a lot of details about where all the crossings are, what times they'll be open, what to expect from those. And as our one of our directors, Mr. Mendenhall, has said, he has a massive book on crossings and information about the crossings. So if anybody has any questions about crossings during the Ironman competition, I'm sure that Richland and other jurisdictions that are involved have the same information, but I'm sure that Mr. Mendenhall would love a call.
I hope it goes really well.
I hope with no trains.
Yeah,
That would be awful.
that would be. Okay, Miss Roy Keck on the beach in Florida. Do you have anything to say to us about the Port of Benton?
I want to thank Diane Howard for the update she gave us on our rail upgrades, particularly on 240 and our Saint Street and the rest of them. The port is continuing to pursue economic development with the rail and for public safety. I mean, this is all about our constituents and keeping them safe. Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us, Roy, on your vacation.
That's just his life.
Yeah.
That's not vacation.
Yeah. Skip Novakovich, I think, had to leave
He
us.
did, yes.
Okay. Update on from the Port of Pasco, you might have read in the Herald, we've got Alaska Airlines has a new direct LA service starting October 1st. Amazon has an expedited delivery center and Old Dominion trucking terminal. Both are under construction at our PIC 395 property just north of King City. And don't forget about the Riverfest that's coming up in Columbia Park on October 5th from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. It's really a fun family event. So I hope you'll join us down there. And that's all I have from the Port of Pasco. Very good. How about WashDOT?
I've heard it mentioned multiple times today, and I did bring some maps.
Good.
Just so you know, this is not my race, and there'll be impacts all day on 240, and so please do not call WashDOT and complain. We will be turning all those comments over to the race organizers and possibly the cities. So I'll leave a few here if you'd like to see them. It kind of has it color coded of when the possible impacts are. And that's about all I have to report, other than we're moving from construction season to winter.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Brian. All right, is there any other business to bring in front of the board today? All right, we'll call for adjournment at 11:52. Thank you for participating.
Everybody.
2:52.